Okay, so again, welcome back to 5.4, where we take a look at another way to cost out our inventory. Okay, so again, we're going to review the costing method. So yesterday we took a look at FIFO, which is more along the lines of typical businesses that sell perishable goods or sell things that have expiration dates. Okay, so now we're going to be looking into LIFO, which is more for inventories that usually have technology involved, where the latest and the greatest is usually sold first. So in this case, right, the newer the model, the usually those things are going to sell out first, and that's exactly what we're going to take a look at today. Is going to be LIFO. Okay, LIFO stands for last in is first out. So again, everything that you're going to learn here is identical to what we learned yesterday. Everything the same, including the formulas, right? We got to solve for the purchase price, which is quantity times the unit price. We got to solve for the total cost, which is going to be the purchase price plus the freight. And then we're going to solve for the cost per item. So once again, this is going to be the most important thing that you do need to do, especially when we're dealing with LIFO, okay? Because we need to make sure that we keep track of our inventory based on the batches that we purchase. So each batch that we purchase, right, will give us a different cost per item, okay? Because we have the idea where the cost of the item can fluctuate due to the market, right? Due to supply and demand. So again, we need to make sure that we keep our batches of inventory in order of exactly when we purchased it, and making sure that we know how much each batch actually is worth. Okay, and of course, goods available is going to be the beginning balance of inventory plus net purchases, and of course the cost of goods sold is going to be the goods available minus the ending balance, which gives you cost of goods sold. So again, everything that you see here is identical. The only difference here is when we actually calculate the total cost of the cost of goods sold, we're not going to start from the top batch. We're going to start from the bottom batch. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at an example here. So once again, we have June 1st that we purchased 100 toys at $1.25 with a freight costing $25. Okay, and then again we have another purchase on June 11th where we made another purchase of 100 toys at $1.28 with freight costing $26. And then of course, last but not least, you have on June 15th that you had a total of 80 toys remaining left in inventory. Okay, so once again, when we practice to journalize, right, we're practicing that we're going to recognize this as an expense first. So here we go: purchase expense, freight expense, and accounts payable. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and plug it back into our inventory worksheet, where we solve for the purchase price, which again, 100 times $1.25 gives you 125. Then we solve for the total cost, which in this case, we add purchase price to freight. So that gives us 125 plus 25 gives us a total of 150. And then here's the most crucial part that we need to know is that we need the cost per item, which in this case is your total cost of 150 divided by 100 of your quantity gives you a total of $1.50. Okay. Now, once again, we also purchased another inventory on June 11th. So there it is that we just journalized it. So then we need to plug it into our worksheet once again. Now, again, because we do not count for the cost of goods sold until the end of the accounting period, this is what we have to do. We just need to list them all out and then go one by one and eliminate them one by one. So in this case, right, we're plugging our numbers here. 100 times $1.28 is going to give us 128. Plus 26 will give us 154. bringing our cost per item to be $1.54. Okay. Since we know this is going to be the end, right? We're going to tally up our totals, right? And these 4 totals here are going to be what you're going to be transferring into your bottom half of the inventory worksheet, okay? So once again, you're going to plug them into your net purchases, right? We purchased 200 toys in general for a total cost of $253, okay? We're going to ignore about purchase returns and allowances because all of that we're going to learn on either Monday or Tuesday, okay? And then here, right, freight, it doesn't add to quantity, but it adds to the cost, right? We added $51 to give us our net purchases of 200 items totaling at $304, okay? So now, once we have that, we need to solve for our goods available, which we know if we're going to begin with 0 as our beginning inventory, then we can already solve that the net purchases is going to become the goods available. Because if you add nothing to it, right, you're going to get your goods available is, you have available to sell is 200 items at $304. Okay. Then we were given the notion that on June 15, you should have ended with 80 toys left in inventory. So here's 80 right here, right? That's my ending inventory. So of course, I just have to do some quick and easy math to solve for how many items I actually sold. So in this case, right, if I have a total of 200 items available and I have 80 items left in inventory, then I just simply subtract those two to figure out that I sold 120 toys. Okay? So now I need to start calculating the total cost of selling 120 toys. So let's take a look at my goods available, okay? Or how much I have in inventory. So I have 2 batches of inventory, right? Each of them worth 100 toys, with one value at 150 and the other value at 154. Because we're using the last in, first out method, right? We're using Lifo. We need to take the batch that we just last bought. In this case, it's going to be from the bottom, which right here is going to be my 100 items costing at $1.54. Now in this case, because we need to sell 120, we're going to go ahead and take out the entire batch right there for $1.54, okay? Then we need to sell 20 more items, right? Because we already sold our first 100. So all we have left is 20, okay? So we're going to take 20, right? We only have one batch of inventory left, which is going to cost me $1.50 each for each item that I sell. So I'm going to take my 20, I'm going to multiply by $1.50, and it's going to give me $30, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those two values together because I sold 120. So 154 plus 30 gives me a total of 184 for my total cost of goods sold, okay? And of course, I'm going to solve for my ending balance, which in this case, right, I have 2 ways to solve for my ending balance. I can either take my 80 left remaining in my inventory, multiply by 150, I get 120. Or I could simply just take my goods available, right? The total cost of my goods available is 304, and I'm going to subtract out what I sold, which is 184, and I should have a remainder of 120, okay? Once again, notice this. Instead of going from top to bottom, we're going to bottom to top. So in this case, so that we're going to be costing out what we recently purchased purchased last, and then make our way up to the top. So any questions here?
I have a quick question. So
Yes.
when you're taking your inventory out
Uh-huh.
for the COGS,
Uh-huh.
why do you always take from the bottom? Like you just take from the ones that cost you the most?
In
Or
this case, because we're doing last in, first out.
oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So we don't care about what that we want to kind of hold on to our inventory from the first ones, or in this case, like it just because if you think about it like a cell phone store, right? You usually sell out your latest models anyway. And then your older models, you try to put them on promotions, but no one really buys it because they want the latest and greatest. So at the end of the day, the latest or the last batch that you just brought in usually typically goes out first.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's not what costs the most expensive. It just so happens that the last thing that we had was the most expensive, right? Now, in regards to the way that the market is, right? Sometimes what you're gonna notice is that where you start from and where you end, usually the later that you purchase all your inventory, the more expensive it does get due to again supply and demand, due to the market as well, and due to even inflation. Inflation can cause the cost of items to rise, right? So in this case, right, it just so happens that the last one that we purchased was slightly more expensive than the ones that we purchased first. Okay, it's not a matter of fact of taking out cost, you know, ones that you're trying to get rid of first are the most expensive ones. It's just that's just the order that you purchased it in. Okay. All right. So of course, we have to complete our conversion entry where we at the end of the accounting period, what we did in that entire table is we solved for how much ending inventory I have, how many items I sold, what was my purchases because I need to convert my expenses into inventory. Okay? So in this case, right, like I've mentioned before, you're going to take the ending inventory, right, of my 120, and you're going to take your cost of goods sold of 184, and you're going to counter them against by countering them against your expenses because you're zeroing out your expenses, right? We're transferring from one account to another. Okay, so in this case, right, I'm zeroing out my purchase expense for 253 plus your freight expense of $51. Okay, so then what happens when I actually have beginning inventory? Same idea follows through here, where we're going to actually take the batch of inventory and carry it over. But in this case, right, the value of my beginning inventory was slightly different, right? This time I have 80 toys costing $1.50, making it a total of 120 that I solved from my previous worksheet. So I'm going to carry that over into my inventory on hand, right? And then I'm going to proceed with the next couple purchases of inventory here, right? So in this case, on June 18, I purchased another 100 toys at $1.27 with a freight of 25. And then on June 23rd, I purchased 100 more toys at $1.30 with a freight of 26. Okay, and I'm also given that on June 30th, that I had a total of 60 toys left in inventory. Okay, so once again, we're gonna plug in our numbers once again, right? We get 127 plus 25 gives you 152, which results in $1.52, right? Then we also have to plug in our second batch of inventory, which we purchased 100 at $1.30, which gives you 130, plus 26, which gives you $1.56. Okay, so that breaks out to $1.56. Okay. So once again, because we reached the end of our accounting period, we need to total up our sums, but this time we purchased a total of 200. So notice this. when we're focusing on this exact worksheet right here, which is the first top half, right? We're primarily only focusing on what we purchased, right? Because when we carry our inventory over to the next accounting period or your next inventory worksheet, you're going to put that on the side because that's considered inventory on hand. This right here is your net purchases, okay? So once we do that, we're going to plug our numbers in once again, exactly how we've done it, but this time we have something different. We have beginning inventory, right? We need to plug in those 80 units at $120, and this is where we calculate our total goods available, right? Now we have 80 plus 200 gives a total of 280. And then we also need to total up our cost, which is 120 plus 308 gives us 428. Okay. Now we go ahead and continue to solve for our cost of goods sold once again, which we know that at the end of the 30th of June, we had 60 units remaining left in inventory. So in this case, we started out with 280. We're going to subtract the 60 to result in us selling a total of 220 toys. Okay? Now, let's take a look at what we have available, right? This is our goods available, right? We're assuming that the batch of inventory that we transferred in from our previous inventory worksheet was as of June 15. So here you go. I have 80 toys as my beginning inventory, and then I purchased one on the 18th and then one on the 23rd for both 100 units each. So this is what my order looks like, okay? So in this case, because I'm using the Lifo method once again, I'm going to make an association that which batch did I purchase last. In this case, starting from the bottom, right, of my list, I'm going to automatically know that the last thing that I bought was on June 23rd, which was 100 toys costing at a grand total of $1.56 each. So in this case, I need to sell 220 toys. So in this case, boom, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate my first 100 by going from the bottom because that's the rule. That's LIFO for you, right? So we got rid of our first 100. Now I still need to do 120 more items. So in this case, I look at my goods available. I have here another 100. Since I'm going to eliminate that entire batch right there, that's the next thing that's going to go is going to be the 100 at $152. Okay? So now I'm left with only 20 left to sell. Now in this case, I only have one batch of inventory left, right? So that means I'm going to take my 20 items, I'm going to multiply it by my 150 because that's what it costs me right now to get another $30. Okay? So then at the end of the day, I want to calculate a grand total of selling 220 items at a grand total cost of $338. Okay? I'm going to pop that into my cost of goods sold. So then I have to solve for my ending inventory, which I have two options once again. I can take my remainder of 60 times the cost per item, which is 150, or I could just take my goods available, subtract out my cost of goods sold to get me the same exact answer for my ending inventory. In this case, I'm left with $90. Okay? So in this case, right, it's the whole entire time, the calculations is identical. The only difference is when we start costing the goods sold, right, and we start eliminating our batches, there is a specific order that we must be in, right? We're not going to start from the top, right, of the batch, right? We're going to start from the bottom of the batch. That's LIFO, okay? FIFO, you start from the top because it's the first batches first that you purchased. You get rid of those ones first. Okay? Right? Everyone good so far?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once again, we're going to plug in our numbers into our conversion entry once again. And this time, same thing, right? We need to recognize our ending inventory, our cost of goods sold, and we need to counter them against our expenses because we are converting from expense to inventory. And this time we must enter in that we had beginning inventory, okay? So in this case, right, what we're doing here is we're totaling up our total goods available, right? We're just making sure that we have all of our purchases, all of the freight, and including all of the beginning inventory to then separate them into our other accounts for the ending inventory and again your cost of goods sold. Okay, but because we're doing it using LIFO, what you're going to notice is that whatever you begin with is what you're always going to end with because you're always selling the last ones that you purchase out first. So at the end of the day, you're always constantly going to always have your beginning inventory be your ending inventory. Okay. All right. And that is the chapter review. Once again, we are looking at how to journalize a purchase, okay, using purchase expense, freight expense, okay. And we are, when you reach the end of the accounting period, you must do a conversion entry to convert your expenses into inventory and the cost of goods sold. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive right into the first exercise here, okay? Now, what I'm going to have you guys do is, for the first set of scenario, okay, this is the same exact scenario, okay? So I'm going to actually have you guys journalize the second half, okay? So we'll practice journalizing on the second half here. But for the first half, it's because it's, again, it's rinse and repeat. It's going to be the same standard journal, right? A purchase expense, freight expense, and accounts payable, right? It's all going to be the same. The only difference here is I don't want you to have to recalculate the same numbers because these are the same exact numbers you did yesterday and the day before and the day before, okay? So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and focus on just transferring the information into the inventory worksheet for the first inventory problem, okay? So here we're on April 5th. We purchased 1,000 units at $5 each with the freight costing you $100. So once again, here's my inventory worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and plug in that today is April 5th. We purchased 1,000 units at $5 with the freight costing you $100. So let's go ahead and calculate this, okay? What's my total purchase price?
5,000.
5,000, right? It's your quantity times your unit cost, which gives you 5,000. What's my total cost?
5,100.
Yes, because we just add the purchase price with the freight to get our total cost of 5,100. Last but not least, we need to calculate our cost per item.
$5.10.
$5.10. Okay, good. All right. Let's see what happened next. So then on April 10, we purchased 750 units at $5.75 each, with the freight costing $75. So April 10, 750 at $5.75 with a freight of 75. So what's my purchase price here?
$4,312.50.
Good. Okay, plus my freight of 75 gives me a total cost of
$4,387.50.
good. So then what is going to be my cost per item?
$5.85.
$5.85. Okay. So then on April 20th, we end up purchasing an additional 200 toys or units, at $6 each with a freight of 20. Okay. So it's 420. We purchased 200 units at $6 with a freight costing $20. So what's my purchase price here?
1,200.
1200 plus 20 gives me a total cost of
1,220.
1220, which brings my cost per item to be
$6.10.
$6.10. Okay. All right, then on April 25th, we end up purchasing 500 units at $6.25 each with a freight costing $50. Okay. So in this case, right, I'm also given that on June 30th that I have a total of 600 units on hand. So that already tells me I reached the end of my accounting period. So let's go ahead and plug in that number for April 25th, right? Purchasing 500 units at $6.25 with a freight of $50. Okay? So it is April 25th, 500 units at $6.25 with a freight of $50. So what is my total purchase price here?
3,125.
31.25 plus 50 gives me a total cost of
3,175.
31.75, which then brings my cost per item to be
$6.35.
$6.35. Okay, so here's your list of inventory items that you have. You have the quantity, you have the total cost, as well as the cost per item. Okay. So again, because we reached the end of the accounting period, right, we were given that we had a total of 600 units on hand. So therefore, go down to the bottom of here, ending balance. We're going to put under the quantity that we should have 600 remaining. So then that tells us we need to wrap up this inventory worksheet. So we're going to total up our total values in each column. So in this case, what was my total quantity that I purchased?
Is it 2850?
2450.
Sorry, that was in my head. Sorry.
No worries. Good. Okay. So then that's the total quantity. What's my total purchase price?
$13,637.5.
Good. Okay. All right. Then what's my total freight?
250?
No, not 250. 245.
Right.
Good. 245. And then last but not least, what's my total cost? 13,882.50. Sorry, I revealed the answer. Okay. So now let's go ahead and plug these numbers in to solve for my net purchases. Okay. So once again, I purchased a total quantity of 2,450 at a total purchase price of 13,637.50. Okay. In this case, we don't have any returns or any allowances, so therefore my subtotal should remain the same. Okay. And then now we need to add our freight. Once again, freight adds nothing to quantity, but it adds to the cost, which in this case, we had a total of $245 worth of freight. So then when you add these values up together, you're going to get your total net purchases of $13,882.50. Okay, and then of course, especially when we don't have any beginning inventory, right? We're going to carry our values down from our net purchases that we solved for. And because if we add 0 to our net purchases, the net purchases becomes the goods available. Okay? So now we need to calculate our ending balance here, right? Because in this case, we're given that 600 units were left on hand. So then if I started out with 2,450 units and I have 600 remaining, my assumption is I must have sold how many units?
$1,850.
We must have sold 1,850 units, okay? So once again, I'm going to go ahead and create a little column here to give myself a running balance here.
عملت فيه ليمون؟
Uh,
حليب.
uh,
هاي.
okay, Magdi. Okay, so equal sum here. So then I have a running balance, okay, of my total units that I've actually sold, and also my value in regards to the total cost. So I'm automatically having that calculated in there. And well, how did I do that? I just simply equal sum the column, and that means every time I add something in the cells, it will automatically calculate for me. So my goal here is that I need to sell a total of 1,850. So let's take a look at our batches of inventory. Since we are using the Lifo method, meaning last in are first to go, which batch of inventory are we going to sell first?
The one from the April 25th, the 500.
Yes, the one from April 25th, the 500, which is going to cost me $6.35 each. In this case, because I'm going to take the entire batch, that's 500 units, or I guess I can sell references. I'm going to take my entire 500 units, which costs $6.35 each, which gives me a total cost of the 3,175. Okay? I already know that, right? I don't need to calculate anything here.
Yes.
Okay? So that's my first 500. I still have to sell, let me see.
1,300.
Yes, I have to sell another 1,300. So now that I eliminated this one, right? Whichever way you can keep track of it, right? Which next batch of inventory am I going to sell out next?
April 20.
Yes, we're going to do April 20th, right? Which we sold. We're going to take the whole entire 200 batch right there. So we're going to sell 200 here, right? We know that this cost me $6.10 each, which gives me a grand total of the 1,220, right? No need for a calculation there.
Yes.
Okay. So then let's see. So we sold now 700 units. We still have 1,150 to go. So in this case, which next batch are we going to sell out next?
The 750 from April 10th.
Good. The 750 from April 10. So in this case, I'm going to eliminate this entire batch as well, right? Which gives me a total here of the 4,387.50. Okay? So now I finally sold a total of 1,450. How many more do I need to get to 1,850?
400.
We need to sell 400 more. See? So now I'm at 1,850. And in this case, I only have one batch of inventory left, right? I've already eliminated the bottom three. So in this case, I have to do a calculation because I need to know what the precise amount is for selling exactly 400 items. So in this case, my cost per item for this one is going to be right here is $6.10, right? So this is where I have to do my calculation, okay? I need to figure out what my total cost is to sell 400 items at $6.10 each. So in this case, what is my total cost?
$5.10.
Oh yeah, $5.10, sorry. So 400 at $5.10 each. So what's my grand total cost for selling 400 items?
2,040.
2,040. So once again, because I've already did my equal sum at the bottom, I tallied up my totals. So in this case, right, for selling 1,850 units, it cost me a grand total. Let's see, I have to make my window big. A grand total of $10,822.50. Okay. All right. Last but not least, then what is my total cost for the 600 units that I have left? Okay. What's my ending balance going to be?
Do you mean the 3,060?
3,060. Okay. Good. Now, of course, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to eliminate it down here. Do not ever go up here, especially if you're cell referencing, okay? Because if you are cell referencing, a lot of these numbers will change if you accidentally remove one of them, okay? So that's why it's important that you just transfer the information down here and use it this way. Okay? So good. So now that we've finished our worksheet here, we need to complete our conversion entry. So go to your general journal, right? It is April 30th. How do I complete my conversion entry?
You started off with ending inventory or just inventory?
Good. It's going to, okay, so inventory, okay, which we know it should be ending, right? What else?
Three thousand
3,060. 3,060.
Okay, thank you.
Good. What do I need to recognize next?
Cost of goods
Folks.
sold.
Good. Cost of goods sold. For what total amount?
10,000.
$10,822.50.
Yes.
Okay, good. Then what else do I need to recognize?
Purchase expense.
Right? I need to zero out my purchase expense. So what was my total purchase expense?
$13,637.50.
Good. And then last but not least, I need to recognize my freight expense, right? Okay, which was a total, I think it was $245. Okay. So with that, my first rule of thumb here is I must verify that my debits and my credits match. So equals sum. Okay. So I got a grand total of $13,882.882.50 on the left, and I have a total of $13,882.50 on the right. Okay. And last but not least, I need to put my description here to convert to inventory. Okay. Good. So any questions in regards to that?
No.
Okay.
Where did we get the April 30th number from? From the, okay, from there. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and practice journalizing and completing the second part of this inventory worksheet, right? Because in question number 3, it says to continue the inventory exercise, okay? And you're going, and again, the inventory method is going to be periodic, and it is LIFO. So here you're given that on April 30th, you have a total of 600 units on hand, which we know, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to carry that number over into our inventory worksheet. So in this case, we know that we eliminated these 3 batches, so we only have this one batch of inventory left, which is the 600 units at $5.10 each, giving us a grand total of $3,060. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and enter that amount into my inventory on hand because it actually is inventory, right? So we have 600 units at $5.10 each, giving us a grand total of $3,060. Excuse me. Okay. So because we only have that one batch of inventory, right? We're just going to go ahead and put these values down here because it is important that we have these values here because this is our beginning inventory. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and practice journalizing the second half and then also fill in the worksheet. So May 5th rolls around. We end up purchasing an additional 500 units at $6.25 each, with the freight costing $50. Okay? So let's practice journalizing this transaction. It is May 5th. How do I recognize this purchase of inventory?
With purchase expense.
Good. Purchase expense.
And freight expense.
Okay?
And accounts payable.
Yes, we're assuming that these are going to be on an account. Okay? And then what are my values here? So if I purchased 500 units at $6.25 each, my total purchase, go ahead.
3,125.
Plus 75, no, I think it was $50 freight. Okay, giving me a grand total of $375. 3175. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to make a note here that I purchased 500 units at $6.25 each. Okay. So let's go ahead and plug those numbers into our new inventory worksheet. So we have 5. We purchased 500 units at $6.25, giving us our total freight with a freight of 50. So in this case, what's my total purchase price? $3,125. Okay. Plus 50, which we know to be 175. 3,175. So then what's my cost per item going to be here?
$6.35.
Good. $6.35 each. Okay. All right. So then let's see what happened here on May 10. We end up purchasing 800 units at $6 with the freight costing 80. So what I'm going to actually have you guys do here is plug it into the inventory worksheet and we'll just copy everything into our journal afterwards. So it's, again, now it's May 10. We purchased 800 units at $6 each with the freight costing 80. So what's my total purchase price here?
4,800.
4,800, right? Quantity times unit cost, okay? Plus 80 is going to give me a total cost of?
4,880.
Good. All right, which brings me my cost per item to be?
$6.10.
$6.10. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug this information into my journal because I need to recognize that I made a purchase, right, on May 10. Now in this case, right, because we already solved it into our inventory worksheet, we solved that my total purchase price was 4,800, okay? And of course my freight was $80, okay? Which gave me a total cost of 4,880, right? And again, I need to make a note that I purchased 800 units at $6 each. Okay. So then May 20th rolls around and we purchase an additional 300 units at $6.15 each with the freight costing 15. So once again, it is May 20th. We purchased 300 units at $6.15 with a freight of 15. So what's my total purchase price going to be here?
$18.45.
$18.45, okay? Plus $15 of freight gives me a total cost of
$18.60.
$18.60, okay? Which then brings my total cost per item to be
$6.20.
$6.20, okay? So once again, I need to journalize this to recognize that I purchased inventory, right? So go to your journal, right? I'm going to recognize that on May 20th, we purchased inventory, okay? My purchase expense was $18.45. My freight was $15, okay? Which gave me a total cost of $18.60. So therefore, let me make my note here that I purchased 300 units at $6.15 each. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the last one here. Then on May 25th, we end up purchasing 100 toys at, or 100 units at $6.30 each, with the freight costing $5. Okay. So, May 25th, 100 at $6.30 with a freight of $5. So in this case, what's my total purchase price here? $6.30 plus $5 to give me a total cost of $6.35, and giving me a cost per item to be
$6.35.
$6.35. Okay. Good. So again, plug that into your journal. Okay, so this was on May 25th. Okay. I bought 100 at $6.30 and my freight was $5. So therefore, I should have a grand total of $6.35. Okay. I'm going to finish off my journal with a note. Purchase 100 units at $6.30 each. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and go back into our inventory, because now we have one notion that says here that on May 31st, you have a total of 400 units left on hand. Okay. So that right there indicates to me that I have 400 units remaining. Okay. So let's go ahead and solve for our net purchases. Okay. So in this case, what was the total amount of units that I bought? What was my total quantity that I purchased? 1,700. Okay. What was my total purchase price?
Uh, 10,400.
10,400. Okay. Okay. What was my total freight? 150, bringing me my total cost to be
10,550.
good. All right. So let's go ahead and plug these numbers in. So purchases, I purchased a total of 1,700 units. Okay. At a total cost of 10,400. No purchase returns or allowances, so that should bring my subtotal to be the same. Okay. Freight, once again, adds nothing to quantity, but we need to add our 150 to the cost. So then I should have a total net purchases of 1,700 units at a total cost of 10,550. Okay. So now, right, we have a beginning balance. What was it?
600,
600 at what total cost?
3,060.
3,060. Okay. We're going to carry our values from our net purchases from right above. And now this is where the formula is going to be for the goods available, right? We need to add these two numbers together to get a total of 2,300 units at a grand total of $13,610.
Sorry, I'm a little lost. The beginning balance of
Plus
600 is shown from where?
my inventory on hand. I carried it over from the previous worksheet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there we go. And we add these two numbers together to get our grand total of goods available to sell. So in this case, I have a grand total of 2,300 units at a grand total cost of 13,610, right? Because I just added those two numbers together, right? This is what I have available to sell. Now in this case, right, I'm already given that at the end of the accounting period, which is May 31st, we were told that you had 400 units left on hand. If I started out with 2,300 units available to sell and I have 400 left, my assumption is I must have sold how many units?
1,900.
You must have sold 1,900. Right? So once again, this is how I do it. I'm just going to go ahead and create my running balance here. So then I know that I'm going to keep track of each one and tally them up so I know how many units I've already sold. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this whole entire column here. Okay. And I'm also going to copy that formula across. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at our batch of inventory, okay? So here we have our net purchases, and here we have our beginning inventory. Now in this case, right, because we're using last in, first out, right, we're assuming that our last inventory, our inventory on hand of the 600 was placed in there as of April 30th. So therefore, that's my oldest batch there. Now with Lifo, which batch of inventory am I going to sell out first? If assuming that my 600 units that I had left in inventory was as of April 30th.
The last one's from May 25th.
The last one on May 25th. So exactly, right? We put it in that exact order saying, well, 600 came first and then every purchase after that came after that. So in this case, because we're using Lifo, we're going to eliminate the last batch that we just purchased. So in this case, I just purchased 100 units. Okay. And we know this 100 units is going to cost me $6.35 each, which we know gives me a total cost of $635. Okay. We need to sell 1,800 more units. So which batch of inventory are we going to take away from next?
May 20.
May 20 of the 300, right? Which we know to be $6.20. Oops. Which gave us a grand total of the 1,860. Okay. Now we sold what, 400? So we need to sell 1,500 more. So how much more, which batch of inventory are we going to take from next?
The 800 from May 10th.
800 from May 10, okay, which we know to be $6.10 each, which we know taking out that whole entire batch is going to cost me $4,880. Okay, so now we have sold 1,200. We need to keep selling more, right? We need 700 more. So which batch of inventory are we going to sell out next?
May 5th, 500.
The May 5th 500, okay? Which we're going to take the whole thing, right? Because we need 700. So 635, which we know to be the 3,175. Okay? So now we just got rid of our entire net purchases. Okay? So then now, how many more do we need to get to? Because right now we're at 1,700. We need to sell how many more to get to 1,900?
The one from beginning.
So how many do I need to sell to get to 1,900?
200.
200.
Yes, 200. Now in this case, we're only left with one batch of inventory and one batch of inventory only. So our assumption here is that we're going to take the cost per item and we need to calculate how much it's going to cost me. So again, since we only have one batch of inventory, it's going to cost me $5.10 each to sell. So now we need to figure out what my total cost of 200 items at $5.10 is going to be. And in this case, what is that?
$10.20.
10.20. Good. 10.20. All right. So then now, of course, because I've already summed up my columns, right? I have a total cost for selling 1,900 units is going to cost me a grand total of $11,570. And therefore, my ending balance is going to be
Uh, 2040.
2040.
okay, another 2,040. Okay, so that is how we use the costing method. Now, of course, as we go through this, right, there's other ways that we can actually find the answer much more quickly, right? If you solve for ending inventory first, you can automatically skip over this entire list right here of calculating our total cost of goods sold by simply solving for ending inventory, right? If I know for a fact that my ending inventory is going to be the same as my beginning inventory, right? Because in this case, I have 600 as my beginning inventory, and I'm going to end with 400. At least I know from there, I can simply just do a simple calculation to solve for my ending inventory, which I know is going to be 400 at $5.10 each. Okay? And if I solve for that, then instead of going through this entire list right here, I could take my formula of my goods available minus my ending inventory to get my total cost of goods sold right then and right there. Okay? There are many, many, many ways we can also see this as well, right? If I knew I had to sell a total of 1,900 units, well, my net purchases is already 1,700. So I could have just taken this number right here and just take 200 from my beginning inventory and also solve that way as well. Okay? There are many ways that in accounting, as long as it doesn't matter what method that you use, or I'm sorry, not method, I guess, what way you get to the answer, as long as you get to the answer. Okay, so at the end of the day, no matter which way that you solved the cost of goods sold or solved for ending inventory, the main goal is that did you get this answer? Okay, so there's a million possible ways to get to this one answer. And I don't care which way that you solve it. whichever way that you solve it, whether it's quicker, slower, or maybe this is something better for you to understand because at least you could see how it's happening one step at a time, then so be it. But at the end of the day, if you reach to this conclusion where you get the same exact answers, then I don't care how you calculate it, right? And that's the beauty of accounting. Anybody can argue, this is the way to do it, that's the way to do it. But at the end of the day, as long as we get to the same conclusion, we all are correct at the end of the day. So there you go. And that is the example here. So let's go ahead and finish this up with our conversion entry. So now it is May 31st, right? How am I going to write out my conversion entry? How do I journalize my conversion entry?
Inventory.
Inventory.
This 400 units equals 2040.
Good, right? That's by ending inventory. Good. What else do I need to recognize?
Cost of goods sold.
You have your cost of goods sold.
Costco.
Okay? For how much?
11,000. $570.
Good. All right. What else do I need to recognize?
Freight.
Freight. Okay. Okay, what else? Freight expense. What was my total freight expense?
Let us to show us, please.
Right here. What's the freight expense?
150.
150. And then what else do I need to recognize?
Purchase expense.
We need to recognize purchase expense. Good. Okay. What was my purchase expense for?
$10,400.
Good. What else do I need to recognize?
Beginning inventory.
We need to recognize our beginning inventory. Yes. Okay. Which was valued at what? What was my beginning inventory?
3,060.
3,060. Good. So let's go ahead and test our equation to make sure that our total debits match our credits. Okay. So I have a grand total of 13,610 on the left, and I have a grand total of 13,610 on the right. Okay. Last thing here, to convert to inventory. Okay. And that is it for this exercise here. Okay. All right. Let me see. Right now it's only 9:40. So what I'm going to have you guys do is let's go ahead and quickly go over another example of the Lifo. Okay? And this is going to be exercise number 2. Now in this case, I already plugged in the numbers for you, so we're just practicing on just calculating the rest of the information here. Okay? So again, we're only looking at one example and one example only. If you do want to practice this on your own, you have this scenario right here, okay? So again, and you could practice the journal on your own as well. But in this case, let's go ahead and take a look at this example here. We have June 1st, right? We purchased a total of 12,500 units at $1.05 each, or sorry, $1.08 each. So in this case, what is my total purchases?
1350.
$13.50. Good. All right. Plus 150. What is my total cost?
1500.
$1,500. And in this case, what is going to be my total cost per item?
$1.20.
$1.20. Okay. So let's go ahead and go through the next one. So in this case, on June 5th, I purchased 800 units at $1.10 each. So what's my purchase price here?
$9.35.
$935. Okay, plus $100 gives me a total cost of
$10.35.
$10.35. Okay, which brings my cost per item to be
Would it be
what was that?
would it be 122?
Yes, it is 122.
Okay.
All right. So again, all right. So if I on June 8th, I purchased 700 units at $1.09 each. What's my total purchase price here?
$763.
$763. Okay. Plus $85 gives me a total cost of $848. Okay. To speak, then what is my cost per item going to be?
So would this one be 1.21?
Yes, 1.21. Now, you're going to probably notice this, that in this case, right, that it's either these numbers are going to be increasing or decreasing. So as you can see here, these are going to be unrounded numbers because in this case, right, we just rounded, our automatic assumption is we're going to round up to the nearest penny. In this case, I'm going to show you how to use the equal round when it comes to rounding off your numbers. Because in reality, right, can you charge a customer half a penny?
No.
No, you can't. So in that assumption is, right, we're going to round up. This is when we journalize as well too, is that you can't cost out in your books half a penny. However, in your inventory worksheet, if you round up too early, you can cause yourself to lose out on profits, especially if you're selling thousands and thousands of items. So if I went ahead and I rounded this number to 122, right there, I already lost $1 from selling 1,000 of these items. I'm sorry. In this case, yes, I would have lost $1 from selling 1,000 of those items. Okay? And if you do that for every single one, think about it on a grander scale. If this right here, you lost $1 here, you lost $1 there, you lost $1 there, it adds up at the end of the day. So in this case, right, I want to make sure when I calculate my cost of goods sold, I use the unrounded numbers and then I round my numbers at the end because that's going to give you a more accurate number to get yourself the cost, but it gives you a more advantage to successfully get that profit that you deserve a lot more easily than rounding it off early, okay? Now, again, there's also that conclusion where we have the conservatism rule, right? If I round up, then my inventory assets are going to be, not overstated, right? They're going to be understated, right? Which is perfectly fine, whichever rule that you want to use. But in this case, when we are a small business, we can get away with that kind of rule right there where we can choose to either round now or round at the end. Okay? Now, again, because we are a small business and we're selling, selling thousands and thousands of items, that 1,000th of a penny makes a huge difference, especially if you're ongoing, constantly purchasing, constantly selling these items. That 1,000th of a penny will make a difference and it will hurt your profits at the end of the day. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. All right, so in this case, right on June 10, we purchased 1,600 units at $1.12. So what's my total purchase price here?
$17.92.
Good, $17.92. Okay, plus $200 is going to give me
$19.92.
$19.92, which then gives me my cost per item to be
$12.25. $1.25.
okay. So again, if you extend it, it's going to be 1.245. Now this is where we have a split penny. Okay. Right, we exactly have a split penny. So that's the dangers of having a split penny because you have to choose. Are you going to round your profits up or are you going to round your cost up? And then are you going to round your inventory up? So again, we will take a look at this half of a penny and making an executive decision. Well, would it benefit me to keep that half of a penny or would it benefit me to just get rid of that half of a penny? All right, 600. Then on June 12th, we purchased 600 units at $1.20. So what's my total purchase price here? $7.20 plus 70 gives me a total cost of
$7.90.
$7.90, which brings my total cost per item to be
$1.32.
$1.3167. Okay. Last one here. Then on June 14, we purchased 1,200 units at $1.25 each. So what's my total purchase price here?
$1,500.
$1,500. Okay, plus 150 gives me my total cost of $16.50. All right, which then brings my cost per item to be
$138.
okay, right? So I take my cost per item of $16.50 and I divide it by my total quantity of 1,200 to get $375. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look here in the scenario. I said that at the end of June 15, we had a total of 500 units on hand. All right. So therefore, my ending balance quantity is 500 units. So let's go ahead and tally up our totals to solve for our total net purchases. So in this case, right, what was my grand total purchases in quantity?
$6,200.
6,200. Okay, that's how many units I purchased. What is my total purchase price?
$7,060.
7,060. Okay. What is my total freight?
No rate.
What is that? What is the freight? Total freight?
755.
755. Good. And last but not least, what is the total cost?
$7,815.
Good. All right. So let's go ahead and plug our numbers into our inventory worksheet here. So our total that we purchased was 6,200 units at a grand total of 7060, right? We have no returns or allowances, so therefore the subtotal should stay the same. Freight adds no value to quantity, but it does add to the cost, right, of $755. So in this case, when we add these numbers up together, I have a grand total of 6,200 items, costing at a grand total of $7,815, okay? Because this is an example here, we have no beginning inventory, so therefore we're going to transfer our numbers from the net purchases, which in this case, right, if you add 0 to this, your net purchases becomes your goods available, okay? Now, of course, we were also given that we had 500 units left on hand. So in this case, my assumption is I must have sold a total of how many units?
5,700.
5,700 units, okay? So once again, I'm going to go ahead and make my equal sum column here, right? And so I can solve for my total cost of goods sold here, okay? Okay. So let's start from the list here. So in this case, right, I'm using Lifo. Which batch of inventory am I going to sell out first?
Last.
The last one, which is going to be 1,200. So in this case, 1,200 is my first one, right? Or I guess, the last one I bought in, right, which is on the 14th of June, all right, which will cost me a grand total of $16.50. Right? I only sold 1,200. I need to get to 5,700. So in this case, I need to keep going. All right, so which batch of inventory am I going to take out next?
600 from June 12th.
600 from June 12th. Okay. Which is going to cost me a grand total of $790. Okay. So now I only sold 1,800. I still have a long way to go. So which batch of inventory am I going to go for next?
1,600 from June 10th.
1,600 from June 10, which I know will cost me a grand total of $19.92. Okay. All right, so here, let's see, I sold only 3,400. I still have a long ways to go to reach 5,700. So which batch of inventory am I going to take out from next?
700 from June 8th.
700 from June 8th. Okay. Which I know 700 from June 8th is going to cost me this, which is going to give me a grand total of $848. Okay. So now I'm at 4,100. So therefore, I still have 1,600 left to sell. Okay. So in this case, which batch of inventory am I going to go for next?
Are we at the 850?
We're at the 850. Correct. So in this case, right, I have 1,600 left, and I need to sell this one. So in this case, I'm going to take the entire 850. All right, which I know is going to cost me that much, which gives me a grand total cost of the $10.35. So now we have sold pretty much all of our inventory except for one batch of inventory. Now I'm at 4,950. All right. My goal is I need to reach 5,700, and I'm only at 4,950. How many more items do I need to sell to reach to 5,700?
750.
We need to sell 750. So in this case, I only have one batch of inventory left, right? I've already sold everything up till the June 1st. So in this case, I have 1,250 units, which is going to cost me $1.20 each. So in this case, right, I just need to simply multiply. How much is it going to cost me in total cost to sell 750 items at $1.20?
$900.
It's going to be $900. Okay? So now I have my grand total of selling 5,700 units, giving me a grand total of $7,215. Okay? Which then, what is my ending inventory going to be?
600.
$600. Okay? All right. Again, you could have easily done this as well, right? Knowing that you have 500 units left, right, in your inventory, you could easily have solved it this way too, where if you recognize at the end of the day, you're going to start from the bottom and get rid of all of that. That means you should be left with the very first batch that you started out with. That should be your ending inventory. If you could figure it out that much, you could simply take your 500 times the $1.20 and get the same exact number here with the 600. And that way, instead of having to go through all of this right here, you could have easily taken that out from your goods available to solve for your cost of goods sold, okay? But I'm teaching you this way so you understand where these numbers are coming from and how we actually use the costing method, okay? All right. Last but not least, let's go ahead and complete our conversion entry, okay? So what am I going to recognize here for my conversion entry? It is June 30th, right?
Inventory.
Inventory, okay? Okay, what is my ending inventory?
Uh, 600.
All right, and then what else do I need to recognize?
Cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold, which was a total cost of
7,250.
7,215. What else do I need to recognize here?
Purchase expense.
Purchase expense, which was a total cost of
7,060.
okay, and what's the last thing I need to recognize here?
Freight expense.
Which was a total cost of
755.
755. Okay, last thing I need to have here is to just make sure that my total debits match my total credits. So I have a total of 7,815 on the left, and I have a total of 7,815 on the right. Okay. Any questions in regards to 5.4?
No.
Okay. So thank you for sparing me that couple minutes there, because now it's exactly 10:04. What I'm going to have you guys do is, since we are done with the lesson for today, I'm not going to go on forth to the next one.